How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTCReaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. So over on Dixie for the daily, we are approaching that neckline, so I would watch very close. This could be where we start to break that neckline if we're not careful. Our momentum is starting to pull back, that blue wave. Our VWAP is pulling back, rejecting neutral, and our stochastic is pulling back, weakening our RSI and bringing price lower. So we did break that kind of consolidation range from that previous bear market, and now we are rejecting. If we break this neckline, remember that would set us up to see further losses. Usually that would be positive for crypto, but we are seeing Bitcoin retrace today as well. We did say the Bitcoin likely was retracing as well, and we did have this pattern. So there was a little bit of correlation between the kind of patterns and market conditions that are going on. RSI is starting to weaken, stochastic wants to pull back. VWAP is in the bullish territory, but if it cannot sustain with these higher lows and get higher highs, then momentum will not continue forward and money flow won't break green. However, if that VWAP gets higher highs and stays above neutral, then we could see money flow flip green, make a bounce, and continue forward. It'll be pretty important how the next few hours play out. If we see a break of this neckline and then a rejection, that's where we could see that push down to the 104. And if we can't hold that, that's where we could break lower. So over on Bitcoin dominance, we tried to break away from this consolidation range. We do have a red candle, so we are going to delete that descending channel. It probably isn't really so it did technically play out on the lower time frame here when we got that third touch up. We got that break forward. Now we're coming back, retesting it. I would watch. If we can make a bounce here, we could continue forward, possibly seeing that recovery. It does say we have a 66.67% chance of pushing up toward that 64. Again, that would be a new high for the relative market. And when you see Bitcoin make that high of Bitcoin dominance, like get that high, then usually Bitcoin does make very strong runs. VWAP is pushing forward, momentum wants to gain strength, and the money flow does want to push forward. So we do look decent there. We're not quite bullish yet. Over on total for the daily, we do have that chance of breaking our rising channel here. So we are approaching the bottom. Watch for a confirmation rejection. Stochastic wants to pull back, RSI is starting to weaken, momentum is rounding with a red dot, VWAP is breaking down, and the money flow is starting to pull back. So if that VWAP does not reverse on lower time frames and pushes higher time frame forward, then we will continue to see that momentum and money flow drop. And remember, that will cause further price action to decrease, because when that money flow is in the red, that shows we have more selling pressure than buying pressure. When it's green, we're getting that buying pressure. So right now in the 1 hour, we did retest our channel. We saw a rejection, attempted to make a lower low, but we wound up making a higher low for our local trend. This could be positive if we get higher high. If we got higher high, broke back into this channel, then we could see that push up to about that 118 still. However, if we see a continued rejection and we get a red candle here giving us bearish confirmation, then we would likely see that push down toward that 101 it says. So that would be a little shy of our breakdown point, because you would be breaking down from here. So that would be a little in confluence where our MPP is showing. Stochastic is weakening, RSI is dropping, VWAP does have lower lows and lower highs, momentum is dropping, and money flow is pulling back. So overall, I would exercise caution. If that VWAP does not break into a bullish trend soon, it's likely we would continue lower. It is trying to break toward that neutral, so watch as it approaches that neutral. If it rejects, then the bears are likely going to push us lower. Over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we did see a little bit of a push up. We do have a gap to the downside here for tomorrow's candle, so that is positive, because remember, gaps have an 80% likelihood to fill, and if we see a breakdown and fill our lower gaps, then that gives us a range to retest our 100K. That may not be very soon. Back here, this was November, so this took about a month for us to run up. We could see a month where we crash out. December could be a bad month. Then toward the end of the month, maybe we see a rally up, maybe a Christmas rally, and push up to that gapped area. That would be the more ideal move, because then we would not have this gap that could potentially fill at a later date and give us further weakness in this higher range. RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding with a red dot, VWAP is pushing down, and money flow is starting to weaken, so I would exercise caution here. Over on the 1 hour, you can see that gap happened just recently. RSI is dropping, VWAP is rejecting, momentum is pulling back, and money flow is starting to push down. So watch for continued lower lows. If we get continued lower lows and lower highs and do not fill that gap on this lower time frame, that again would be positive to fill on the higher time frame at a later date to see our crash down and then a strong bounce up. VWAP is remaining bearish. We do have lower lows and momentum is dropping. Stochastic is weakening and that RSI is pulling back. So overall, the 1 hour does look like we're getting bearish confirmation. After getting that rejection here, we tried to make a bull flag and we did not get a breakup. We kind of put where our third touch to the top would be and then got just a spill off. So we got a very brutal rejection. We did cover that in the Discord this morning and this afternoon. So we said this morning we did have a triangle that could try to push us forward. It would attempt to push us 106, 108K area. However, a few hours after we kind of mapped that out, we were in this range. We did say that there was some caution as that VWAP was remaining more bearish, momentum was pulling back, and things didn't look too positive. And since it was a symmetrical triangle as well as that bullish pattern, a symmetrical triangle had a bearish probability to break us down. We got that breakdown, got consolidation after a breakdown, made a mini bear flag, broke down, did the same, and now we're pushing down. Watch for consolidation. That trend could continue and we could fill that wick. We did make a wick down toward 90K, so that was a pretty strong push down. So hopefully if you had any DCA orders like we said to have, then you would have gotten them filled and you'd be in a little bit better position if you are just getting into Bitcoin. Momentum is breaking down, VWAP is favoring bearish, our money flow is starting to pull back. So overall, I would exercise caution as that VWAP is favoring bearish. So as that continues to favor bearish, momentum will continue lower, money flow will pull back, and once that money flow flips red and holds for several hours, remember higher time frames have that chance to get strong red candles, and that could give us a further push down. Remember, Bitcoin does have that 77K gap on futures, so this is the point where we may consider different DCA ranges. So maybe we want to trade, buy some of this Bitcoin right around this 87K. Has a strong consolidation range right around here. That is a lower end of a range. Remember, we are trying to get a better average price on our Bitcoin position. Down here, we could say around 76K, but that's getting greedy because that's below our 77K, and that's assuming we're going to get the full breakdown. So maybe you go a little higher than that because you don't want to get greedy and you want to make sure you can at least get something. So maybe around that 80K, as that is an even number, a strong support, a psychological support resistance area as well. So over on the 1 hour for Bitcoin, we did see a pretty strong drop down. There is a high chance that we do push forward depending on if we can get higher highs and higher lows. Our MPP gives us a higher probability of seeing a rejection here, making a lower high. So watch if we do get a lower high, because if we get that lower high here and follow it with lower lows, with that VWAP being bearish, our momentum will remain bearish, money flow will break down, and price action will continue down to that first buy-in most likely. So we will delete this pattern as it has played out, and we don't want things to get confusing. Now that our Fibonacci range has kind of messed around, we could change our Fibonacci levels. So go here, unlock that, move that up to your candle wick, and that would recalculate your Fibonacci levels based on price action. Then you can lock that in. That way you don't move it around. So over on graph for the daily, we are seeing a break above that 32 cent. We did try to push back toward that 34, so that is positive. But overall, this is the indecision candle. VWAP is pretty flat. Momentum is starting to round, so I would watch lower time frames. If they start to favor bearish, we could end up breaking down here. Stochastic does want to round. RSI is pretty flat. So again, I would exercise caution. This could be decent for us if we're going to end up seeing a breakaway. It doesn't look like we have graph orders, so we'll get on that on the trading portion of the video. And maybe we want to pick up some graphs if we get a breakdown. I would say ideally somewhere in this like upper 30 cent area possibly. Again, we'll reevaluate that later. So over on the 1 hour, we do have a probability of getting a lower high and rejecting. So I would exercise caution, because if we get that lower high and reject, then we could push down toward that 27 cent area. So that would be a 71% chance of getting a lower low there, it does say. So that lower low with lower highs in this range would create a bearish continuation. And that bearish continuation, if we're not careful, might pull us around that 28 cent area. Our stochastic is starting to pull back. VWAP is breaking down. Money flow is starting to weaken, so watch that VWAP very close. It is in a bearish trend, and if it continues that bearish trend, momentum will break down, money flow will go from green to red, and we will see higher time frames weaken. So over on Anchor for the daily, we did try to break that 60 cent, so we are seeing a very strong run up on Anchor. So we did kind of make a consolidation after a little run forward, so that could be a little mini bull flag. Pushed that 51 cent area, broke that, and we did continue up toward that Fibonacci 60 cent. We do have this other support resistance area way up at the 67 cents. We didn't quite get there. We stopped at about 62. So that does look pretty positive. But again, watch these quick gains, because when you get these quick gains, sometimes you will see them retrace. So if you are in some sort of position where you bought in here and you bought pretty heavy, you may want to consider taking some profit with the strong run up, considering the rest of the market does look a little on edge. That VWAP is pushing up. We do have a higher high with those weak lows. So that is bullish for us. That can help push us forward, as that VWAP is gaining strength, pushing momentum higher and giving that money flow strength as well. So over on the 1 hour, we do have almost a tweezer top. Remember, a tweezer top is when you get a bearish engulfing candle that can break you down. But still watch for a strong red candle, because if we get a strong red candle and we do not hold this 55.54, then we're likely going to push down toward that 45 cent range. There is a low probability of seeing that happen, but remember, it still can happen. Momentum does want to round. We have a double red dot. VWAP does have lower highs, and we have a lower low breaking that neutral. If we do not recover and see that VWAP gain bullish traction, that will continue lower, weakening momentum, bringing money flow lower, and that will cause price action to get those lower lows, potentially creating that bearish continuation here as well. So over on XRP for the daily, we are starting to break that neckline of that pattern we drew yesterday, so we will want to watch. We stopped just short of our buy order, so just before, I think the whales were messing with us there. Momentum does want to round. We have a red dot. RSI is breaking down. Stochastic is dropping. VWAP is breaking bearish. So overall, I would exercise caution and watch for a further push to the downside. So we did get a kind of flash crash down. We did reject that neckline, and we are seeing continuation. This is a long lower shadow. It is also a hammer candle that is forming here. If it forms as a hammer and we get a red candle, it's likely we're going to continue lower, possibly filling that first and second buy order if we're lucky. However, if we push down, get a bounce off that $2 area and continue forward, then I would watch for higher highs and higher lows. That would help push us forward. Again, watch for lower highs and lower lows like we're getting right here. If we continue to see that, then that's where we would see that breakdown. Stochastic is selling off, RSI is weakening. That VWAP is overall favoring bearish. It's pretty stagnant. We're seeing it try to curl forward. So again, watch for a green candle next. If we get a strong green candle, we could make a rounding bottom, retest our neckline, and try to continue forward. There is a 21% chance we do hit that $2.40, possibly making it a lower high, but there is a higher probability of hitting $3.06. So that would be, again, dependent on getting higher highs with higher lows. So over on Algo, we'll cover Ondo today too as well, just to kind of see where it's standing for those of you who are interested. So over on Algo for the daily, we are starting to see a round away. I would exercise caution. This could give us a further push down, possibly retesting and retracing that strong green candle. Momentum does want to pull back. Stochastic is starting to push down. RSI is starting to break. That VWAP is favoring bearish, and the money flow is pulling back. So we do look like we are trying to see a little bit more bearish momentum. But again, this could just be a temporary pullback, and then we could have a further bounce later. Over on the 1 hour, we do have a long lower shadow candle here, so I would watch for further red candles. We could see bearish continuation. We have lower highs and lower lows, and they do not connect now. Remember, when they do connect, that creates a descending channel, and descending channels can push you forward. But that bearish continuation does have that chance to push us around that 40 cent area, or 40 cent area. Stochastic is pushing down, RSI is weakening. That VWAP is favoring bearish. Momentum is favoring bearish as well, causing that money flow to remain red. If that VWAP does not get a bullish trend soon, momentum and money flow will continue to weaken, which will weaken higher time frames and cause us to see that rejection down. Our MPP does say there is a probability of getting a lower high, so watch for that lower high. If we push up, pull back, and reject, then it's likely we could see that push down toward that 40 cents. So like we said, we'll cover Ondo here, and then we will get into our trades. We don't have any Ondo trades, so maybe we'll place one. Momentum does want to round. VWAP is starting to pull back on the daily. Money flow is pulling back. Stochastic and RSI are rounding. We do have a pretty bear channel here as well, so we could draw a fixed range volume profile. Take some data from in this range right here. Maybe pull back a little bit more data if it'll allow us. Sometimes it does get a little goofy with how much data you can have. And again, remember we want that visual order to the back. That way it's easier to see our candles. So overall, we are continuing forward. We don't really have much usefulness out of that fixed range volume profile, besides seeing we have a lot of volume in this range and not so much volume here. Remember, we can end up rejecting and filling that volume gap, and you want to watch where things go from that volume gap, because if they end up landing more bearish, that's where we can push to our value area high. Momentum does want to round away. VWAP is starting to push down. Money flow is pulling back. RSI and stochastic are weakening. So overall, the daily doesn't look too positive, and our MPP isn't really helpful on the daily either. So over on the 1 hour here, we do have a possible bearish continuation as we have lower highs and lower lows. They don't really connect too well to create a descending channel. Remember that descending channel would try to break you down. These lows are kind of short of that. But we could have a inverted head and shoulders, so that could be positive. There's your shoulder, there's your head, there's your shoulder, and then we would want to push forward, and that would give us a break. I'd say our neckline is roughly there, so you'd move from here to your neckline, push that up, and then you would get a break to about 192. That would be retesting that candle wick. Stochastic is starting to pull back, but it does look like we are pretty maxed out in the losses here. RSI is starting to drop. Within the next 12 hours, we can jump back to XRP and cover where it could be just after we get done with Ondo here. Momentum is breaking down. Our VWAP is favoring bearish, and money flow is starting to weaken, so I would exercise caution. I would watch for a confirmation. Remember, you want to break that neckline and continue forward, and that neckline would be roughly somewhere in this range. So we would need to break that 176, continue higher, and push forward. There's a high chance of getting a lower high, and if we get that lower high and then follow it with a lower low, that's where we could break down to that 151. So over to XRP for you. Over in the next 12 hours, we do have this head and shoulders that we kind of rejected, and we are watching for a continuation of this. If we get a continuation, we're likely going to push down to about this 214. That's where we had some consolidation back here, and then we would retest that $2, as that's a psychological support resistance if we cannot hold that 214. Then if we broke that 214, I would watch for a push down to about that 191, because that is another strong support consolidation range. And I don't really see it going too much beyond that unless we see another bearish pattern, as that is our max breakdown for that head and shoulders here. So hopefully that answered your question, Tyler. Let me know if you have any other questions. Again, if you guys haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and join us in that Discord. It is free, and you can feel free to ask any questions there as well. So now we will hop over to our trading, and maybe we'll place some Ondo orders. Like I said, we have placed other orders, so I'm not too interested. So on the basis of this being an inverted head and shoulder, I would watch for confirmation. We ideally would want to break that 176. I can't place an order where it'll wait for that and then continue forward. I can only place orders where it'd fill now. So I would watch for a bounce in that range. Maybe you, instead of setting an order in this range, you would set an alert. And then if you have TradingView on your phone, that alert will send you a notification when we hit that range. Then you'll know to check the market there. RSI is pulling back, stochastic is starting to pull back, and we do look more bearish with these indicators. So I would watch for further bearish momentum. Again, we do have that possibility of pushing to that $1.51, but setting an order in that range would be a bit greedy. I'd likely look more at the bottom of this range here. So maybe we buy, I'll say 200 Ondo in that range. I do not think, sorry about that, do not think that was how I wanted. So we will want to check our order book. I forgot that they do kind of have those weird dates. So let's see our expiry. Any expiries are soon. This one's today, I think, or tomorrow. So we will want to modify our order, change our expiry. Again, that's an important thing to watch when you're doing your limit order. That way your order doesn't just cancel right after you. Sometimes that does happen, especially if you're placing it through some sort of other app. So you do have, did not hit save. So you do have the ability to link up like your trading account to this trading view. That is another feature they offer if you want to do that. I don't like linking other APIs to my account and stuff like that though. So I'm not doing that. That's why we're trading with this paper money. And again, if your strategy works, the paper money will be good. So I'm just going through making sure these orders are on the right dates. That way they don't end up canceling out. So it doesn't look like it wants to fix this order for us. Ondo is not cooperating. We'll have to cancel that order and just place a new one, I guess. So trade, buy, and that's not giving us the window. And trading views being a little goofy. That's another reason I'd say be a little careful if you're using it to manage your trades, because it does get a little goofy sometimes. So I may have to mess with Ondo later as it's just being goofy and doesn't want to cooperate. You can slide it around to force this modify window, and then that would allow, there we go. Now our date's actually correct. How soon do we think the breakout could be with XRP? So it does look like that could be very soon. We are seeing that rejection in the current few hours. So I'd say in the next few hours, going back to our market cipher B, if that VWAP stays bearish, it's likely we're going to push down over the next few hours. If we do push down over the next few hours, then we get some kind of bullish pattern in this range. Then we're going to watch for that bounce forward. That would ideally be over the next couple days where you get that bullish pattern to form and get that bounce forward. It may happen, could happen on the weekend, as weekends can be volatile. It may happen more like maybe midweek, I'd say. It's kind of hard to time these things because you get news out of nowhere and then things just flash by and flash shoot up. That's why it's important to DCA in and DCA out and not try to time the market so much. And that's why we place these limit orders ahead of time, and then you watch things after your orders fill. And that's why you don't want to go all in or all out with your capital. Thank you all for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night. Hit the like, hit the